last month, Brian, I want to give a shout out to Brian Tymeyer on Twitter. He suggested that for episode 666, I should try to do some kind of countdown or, list out the five best horror movies or something like that. Something tied into the horror theme. And I'm not going to do a whole countdown or anything like that, but I thought, you know what, that would be a cool idea to give some thought to what I think are my 5 favorite horror films of all time. And so, these are my 5 favorites. I'm going to just read them off to you right now. These are the movies that either scared the shit out of me, or messed with my head big time, or no matter what I'm doing, if they come on TV, I don't have cable anymore, thank God. But if I were to come across them, I would stop whatever I'm doing and I would watch. There's a select number of films that would apply to, and I think that would apply to these. Now, if you ask somebody who is a fan of the horror genre, what are your favorite all-time horror films? You're going to get a lot of the same answers. You're going to get Psycho, and I've seen Psycho, and it's a very good movie, but you're going to get Psycho, you're going to get The Exorcist, you're going to get The Shining. These are all classic films. They are not on my list. They are not on my list, but they are classic films, no doubt about it. But these are the films on my list. And this one should be a surprise to nobody who knows me. Halloween. The original Halloween by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, 1978, which was really an independent film. It wasn't like it was backed by a major film studio, and I think it made $50 million. And, it put John Carpenter on the map in many ways. And then he had a lot of other movies that came out of the 1980s, including Halloween sequels. But there would not have been a Friday the 13th. The whole slasher genre really, to me, starts with Michael Myers in the Halloween films. So you wouldn't have a Friday the 13th, any of the movies, were it not for Halloween. And I love the movie. There's really no blood. There's no blood, there's no gore. It's the sense of dread. It's the William Shatner mask that they sort of messed around with, the Shatner mask, that blank expression on his face. The idea that it's this kid who one day woke up in 1963, I think it was, and put a Halloween mask on and stabbed his sister to death for no reason at all. There's no explanation for why this little 6-year-old boy woke up one day and stabbed his sister to death. And it's that sense of not knowing. There's not an explanation or a motive for it. They put him in an institution. He's mute. He doesn't speak. That's what really makes it kind of terrifying. When they started ascribing different reasons for why Michael is the way he is in the later movies, it completely negated everything that made the first movie so scary and so spooky. Not knowing is oftentimes scarier than having all the answers. So I loved everything about the movie, the way it was shot, the music, the mask, the simplicity of it. But, it's a movie that it gets to you. Now, maybe somebody who's a little bit younger, who's been exposed to all of these slasher, gore, horror, porn flicks and everything, they may watch a movie like Halloween and be like, I don't see what the big deal is. I feel like you had to be there. You know what I mean? Like if you were watching these movies when you were younger and hadn't yet watched all of these other movies now, which just push all the boundaries and all the limits to what you can do, and just visually, they show you everything, then yeah, I could see where you would watch a movie like this and you wouldn't get it. But to me, it is the best. It is the best. It is my favorite horror film of all time, the original. I'm a fan of some of the other ones too, but the original is still, and always will be, the very best. Speaking of John Carpenter, The Thing. John Carpenter's remake, his version of The Thing from 1982. Now, it's not the original, but it is my favorite version of it, and it is a great movie. The Thing was not received well when it was first released. I think it came out in 1982, if I'm not mistaken, but it was not well received when it first came out. In fact, the reviews were horrible. People thought the effects and the gore were just way too much. There were stories of people leaving the movie theater, walking out of the theater midway through. They were completely distraught over what they had just seen. And John Carpenter had a contract with the movie studio he had signed on, with the success of Halloween, and I think Escape from New York may have came before this as well. But he got a big contract. He was going to do a whole bunch of movies for the movie studio. And I think largely based on the reaction to this film, they bought him out of his deal early. They just wanted to end the relationship, and they bought him out. And as much of a classic as it's considered today, it is amazing to think that it was that badly received when it first came out. But it came out around the same time that E.T. did. And E.T. was a more wholesome movie, and people loved E.T. I loved E.T. E.T. kind of freaked me out too, I gotta tell you. When they had the people come in the hazmat suits, and they had him in the bubble, and they were separating him from the family members, that was kind of traumatic for me as a kid, I'm not gonna lie. There were parts of E.T. that were traumatic, and it had nothing to do with me being afraid of E.T. It was when the government came in, right? Government comes in, they fucked it all up. But E.T. came out, I think the same year, maybe. It came out right around the same time, and that just people adored it. People loved it. And I guess people just weren't ready for this yet. I guess, I don't know. I don't have any other explanation for it. We've all been so desensitized to it now. Back then, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had a very niche audience. If people went to go see it, they knew what they were getting. I guess with this thing, no pun intended, I don't know that people knew what they were expecting, or they were expecting one thing and they got another, but they were repulsed by what they saw. But I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. That sense of dread and tension as the movie goes on, the use of the practical effects. I don't know why it got so much hate from people at the time. 10 years earlier, you had The Exorcist come out, and people were literally throwing up in the movie theater. People were passing out. They were calling ambulances because people were passing out and needed oxygen in the movie theater when that movie came out. And that movie was acclaimed. That movie was widely praised. So I don't get it. Now, this might ruffle a few feathers. People might hear this and go, what? Horror movie? Oh yeah. Jaws. Jaws is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. I don't give a shit what people classify it as. I don't care what IMDb says. They call it action. They call it a thriller. Yeah, it was all those things. And it was a horror movie too. Any movie that makes millions of people afraid to go into the water because of a killer shark is a horror movie. I don't care what anybody says. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and Jaws is a horror movie. Period. End of story. Really, nothing else needs to be said. Jaws is still a movie that scares a lot of people to this very day. There are still people to this day who will not go to the beach and will not go in the water because of that movie. If that's not a horror movie, then I don't know what is. But Jaws is a great movie. Alien. Got a funny story on this. I actually saw the movie Spaceballs as a kid before I ever saw Alien. So I'm very weird like that. Like, I saw Escape from LA before I ever saw Escape from New York. I see these movies out of order sometimes. I saw the second season of True Detective on HBO. I still haven't seen the first season. I heard it's so great. Oh my God. Then people crapped on the second season. I haven't seen the first season. I saw the second season with Vince Vaughn, and I thought it was okay. I got to go back and watch the first one. But anyway, I saw the movie Spaceballs as a kid before I ever saw Alien. And if you've never seen Spaceballs, it's a parody movie, basically. And one of the scenes in the movie is a parody of a scene from, probably the most memorable scene, from the movie Alien, where the alien pops out of John Hurt's chest. Only in Spaceballs, when the alien pops out of his chest, and it's the same actor, by the way, which was hilarious. They used John Hurt, they brought him back for Spaceballs. When the alien pops out of his chest, he looks, he goes, oh no, not again. But in Spaceballs, when the alien comes out, it dances off to the music like Michigan J. Frog, with a top hat and a cane. So, when I finally saw Alien, years later, and I saw that thing burst out of his chest, I started singing, hello my baby, hello my honey, hello my ragtime gal. I'm like, where's the music? That's the first thing I thought of. And so, unfortunately, when I saw Alien for the first time, that scene should have scared the crap out of me, and instead I was laughing, waiting for the music to start playing. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Anyway, Sigourney Weaver, total badass forever because of this movie. Alien, great film. Alien 2, also. And rounding out the list is the original Saw movie from 2004. Now, it got ridiculous as the years went on with the sequels and everything. I actually thought the first movie was brilliant. I thought it was very clever. The concept of it and the big finale. I will not give away the finale of the movie in case people still haven't seen it after all. I mean, it's been almost 20 years now. But if you've never seen the movie, it's not fair because it's all in the payoff at the end of this movie. But I remember the first time I saw that Saw movie. And I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. I didn't, because I knew going in there was a lot of gore. If you can't handle gore and a lot of blood and stuff, you're not going to like this movie. But there's a story there. It's not just the gore for the sake of gore. And the concept of the story, these two guys who don't know each other, finding themselves locked, chained by the feet, one on one side, one on the other. They don't know how they got there. They have to play a series of games and tasks that they might not want to do in order to try to save themselves or save their family. It's a horrifying situation. If you try to, in real life, put yourself in these people's positions, that's the truly horrifying part. I don't know what I would do. If I was Carrie Elwes tied like that, I don't know what I would do. I don't think I would have the courage to do what, Jigsaw wanted him to do. But I remember watching the end of that movie and my jaw dropped. I didn't see it coming. It's like SummerSlam this year. They'll never see it coming. I didn't see that coming. I should have seen it coming, and I didn't see it coming. I remember Kane, and I wish I could find the interview. I've looked for it. I can't find it. I don't remember I think it was a written article, not a video interview. And it might have been around the time Kane was doing press for his own movie, See No Evil. But I could have sworn even Kane commented on the fact that he thought that was like one of his favorite movies. And like he was blown away by the finish as well. And I thought, good. See, now I'm not alone in that. So I would not put any of the other films on this list, but the original, I absolutely think this is among the greatest movies in the horror genre. It's not the best horror film of all time, but if you made a top 10 or a top 20, I think there's a place for the original Saw on that list. So that's what my top 5 looks like. I have a whole bunch of other favorites. Obviously, I like all the Friday the 13th movies with my namesake. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. A lot of people have crapped on that movie because it's not Michael Myers. It's not a real Halloween movie. But if you ever take the time to watch it, it's a damn good film. I really liked Halloween 3. In fact, I think Halloween 3 is my second favorite. The original Halloween and then Halloween 3 are my top 2 favorite Halloween films. I loved Creepshow, which is just a collection of different horror stories. The one I like the most is The Crate, Fluffy, The Monster Under the Steps. The Fly, with Jeff Goldblum. Now there's a movie, the effects. You want to talk about effects and gore that'll creep you out. But it's a really sad story, though. It's a really sad story, but those practical effects, man, nothing can beat that. I'm sorry. CGI has a place, but nothing can beat those practical effects from the 1980s. Fright Night, that's another guilty pleasure of mine. Well, not a guilty pleasure. I think a lot of people like that movie. The original Child's Play, the Chucky movie, the first one they did. That is a creepy fucking movie, especially if you're afraid of dolls. If you're afraid of creepy dolls, not like the Annabelle doll, but if you're just creeped out by dolls in general, then it's even more scary. And the movie Scream. Wes Craven, 1996, the original Scream. That's also a very clever movie. And I enjoyed it. So there you go. There's your horror segment here for episode 666. Let's do some wrestling questions here before we wrap up. I don't know how I'm conscious right now. I did a 3-hour stream last night. I didn't get much sleep. And here we are now. I don't want to hit 3 hours here, so let's get moving. Michael in Hicksville, New York. Goldberg gave an interview and said his WWE deal runs through 2023 and calls for 2 matches per year. Who would you like to see him wrestle on those remaining matches? Do I have to? Do I have to see him wrestle anybody? Haven't we seen him against all the people that we would have wanted to see him against? Well, they promoted the match already with Roman Reigns that they never delivered on. Spear against spear, so I think the match with Roman Reigns would probably be the one that makes the most sense. The other match that we're not going to get, but I would love to see it, is Matt Riddle getting his match with Goldberg. Matt wants the match with Brock, he wants the match with Bill. They don't want to work with him, but I would love to see them in the ring together. I suspect that would not end well, though, for Matt Riddle. Not that he couldn't take Goldberg. I think if they ever got in a real fight, at this stage, Goldberg's 50, whatever he is, 53 years old. Matt has a lot of fight experience. You know, he could hold his own. Matt would twist Goldberg into a pretzel. He would twist him into a pretzel. Just like Chris Jericho got Goldberg in a front face lock. You know, when it comes to real life and real moves, you're trying to subdue somebody and take him down. I don't think Matt Riddle would have any problem handling himself against Bill Goldberg at 53 years old. But the end result of a match probably would not be to Matt Riddle's liking.